We are. Welcome back, YouTube. This is me, Mike McCracken, host of the Slack and McCracken Sports Podcast, and, well, here we are. This is my face, since some of you haven't seen it. Today we're going to be doing a pre-draft video for the NFL Draft, which is right around the corner, and we're going to be talking about the Bills' needs, and we're going to be talking about some honorable mentions, and just talking about some of the receivers. I don't want to talk about the quarterbacks because we don't really need a quarterback. Obviously, we have Josh Allen, and I don't want to sit here and waste a lot of time on the offensive line. We do need offensive linemen, but it doesn't have to be anybody perfect. It just needs to be somebody that will improve over time, because you're not going to have a rookie offensive lineman impact right away when you're in the second or third round. Because I think if we are going to draft in the first round, it needs to be a wide receiver. And if we're not drafting in the first round, and say we trade for DeAndre Hopkins, for example, then we're not going to be taking an offensive lineman. I would see the Bills doing what they always do when drafting high on defense, as unpopular as that is. But let's get started. We're going to talk about I just want to talk about some honorable mentions, just because there's been rumors. Obviously, it's draft season, smoke. It's been just all over the place. Like, there are rumors left and right, and mock drafts and all that stuff. So, let's get started. So, first I want to talk about Bijan Robinson out of Texas. He's 5'11", 220 pounds. The guy has a nasty stiff arm, runs with hard power. Like, he's a hard power back. No denying that. He's a projected first-round pick, and he's a projected generational talent. This guy is being compared to Saquon Barkley. He's been mocked to the Bills in damn near every single mock draft. He's an absolute stud. He's guaranteed to ball out. So even if the Bills did make the move to get Bijan Robinson, it would help their offense. I'm not saying it wouldn't, but drafting James Cook last year in the second round, and then you were investing in 2 third-round picks in Singletary and Zach Moss in 19 and 20, that don't look good. It just does not look good. And considering what a glaring need you need at wide receiver, getting another running back is going to help you. And you traded for Nyheim Hines and signed Damian Harris. So there's really no reason why you need a running back. I can understand the idea. I can, because he's really good. The guy's a fucking baller. But if you're asking me, I don't think that's the case. I don't think the Bills need Bijan Robinson. I don't think it's going to happen either. Bijan runs a 4.46 40-yard dash. He's had 258 attempts rushing for 1,580 yards, 6.1 yards per carry, and 18 touchdowns this past year. In my opinion, though, Bijan's going to go to the Eagles or the Cowboys. I don't think that he's going to the Bills. I think if any team's going to take him, it'll be the Eagles, because they're coming off a Super Bowl. They are stacked already. They just re-signed Jalen Hurts. They have A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert. They have 2 Hall of Famers on that offensive line. Why not get Bijan Robinson? Or the Cowboys. The reason I'm saying the Dallas Cowboys is because you got rid of Zeke Elliott finally, when you should have done it like 2 years ago. And now you have Tony Pollard. But the problem is, you have him on a franchise tag. And I don't think you want to make the same mistake twice if you're Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. So why not get Bijan Robinson with your first round pick, and you have Bijan and Tony Pollard, and then you have Bijan as a rookie, and then you don't got to worry about running back. You just don't worry about running back. And honestly, knowing Jerry Jones, knowing he's old school, I could see him doing it. I don't see any other team, honestly, taking Bijan in the first round. And if Bijan were to fall out of the first round, I think it's anyone's guess. And he'd be the best player available regardless at that point. But I don't think he's going to fall out of the first round. No way in hell. Next guy I want to talk about, the Bills have met with this guy multiple times, and it's Notre Dame tight end Michael Mayer. He's 6'4", 265 pounds. His 2022 stats, 67 receptions, 809 yards, and 9 touchdowns. He had a 4.70 40-yard dash. He's a projected first-round pick, and he would be a great complementary piece with Dawson Knox. It would be great for the Bills, 2 tight end sets. Have no problem with it whatsoever, if that was the case. If we did need a receiver. But if we were to trade for DeAndre Hopkins, and we drafted Michael Mayer, and we had Knox, I could see it. It's not the most popular pick, but I can understand it. But you need a receiver. The main thing is you need a wide receiver. Don't be going out and getting more guys that aren't receiver to play receiver. We did that with running backs and tight ends and God knows what last year. We don't need to do that again this year. It's why we brought in Cole Beasley and John Brown off the street. We don't need to do that again. In my opinion, though, I think he's going to go to the Lions. And again, the Lions could draft just about anybody. I think they're going to go best player available as well. Maybe they go corner because they got rid of Okudah. But I think since they traded TJ Hockenson away to the Minnesota Vikings, they're going to need a new tight end. Why not get a guy like Michael Mayer? And he's a leadership guy. He's a locker room guy. Why not go out and get that? But I can understand why the Bills like him because he was a leader at Notre Dame. So I can understand the character aspect, why they're looking at him. But since you paid Dawson Knox top 5 tight end money, there's no reason to get another tight end, especially in the first round. If you were to get one in the later rounds, I can understand that. But the top rounds, like, focus on receiver, focus on the offensive line. The main needs for the Bills, they need a wide receiver, preferably an outside wide receiver, not a slot receiver. They drafted Shakir last year. See what Shakir can do in the slot. Also, Diggs can play in the slot if you really needed him to. Not full time, but you can move Diggs around. But you need outside receivers. That was the problem last year. The Bills had Diggs, Davis, and Kumro. They had nobody else. The rest of the guys were slot guys. Cole Beasley, Khalil Shakir, Isaiah McKenzie. Those guys were all slot guys. And yes, we brought back John Brown, but he wasn't a factor outside either. So I just think you need to focus on getting an outside receiver before you really look at anything else. And then obviously I want to talk about DeAndre Hopkins. How could I forget DeAndre Hopkins? He's been an absolute stud since he entered the league in 2013 with the Houston Texans. And he's been good in Arizona. He has one of the most memorable plays against the Bills in the Hail Murray. So how can you not know who DeAndre Hopkins is, especially if you're a fucking Bills fan? I think if he came to the team, it would be an absolute goldmine. It would help Josh Allen. It would help the receiver corps. Your offense would be immediately better. You'd be up there with the Bengals. You'd be up there with the Chiefs. You'd be right back where you need to be. The only problem, though, with that, Hopkins is older. You're going to have to give up draft capital. You have to take another mortgage on of your cap room. You're already taking on Von's contract, Von Miller, Josh Allen's contract, Stephon Diggs' contract. You have other guys like Dawkins, Tre'Davious White. It's adding up. So if you take another mortgage out of your cap, it's going to be 2 years or we're going to be rebuilding for the next 3. Because we don't have a lot of time left in this window. So I can understand if they make the move. And I think that it definitely is not a bad idea. Because if you don't, it really seems like Kansas City's going to. Or if he becomes a free agent, maybe he goes to Baltimore. Either way, DeAndre Hopkins is coming back to the AFC. There's no doubt in my mind. And in this AFC arms race that started last year, last offseason to now, you need to continue to upgrade. You need to continue to upgrade. There is no discussion. It's non-negotiable. You need to keep up with the offense. You need to keep up with these teams, these juggernauts, because you don't, you're going to fall out of it. You're going to fall out of the race. You're going to go to the bottom of the fucking basement, and you're going to be back to square one like we were in 2017 in a blink of an eye if we keep making decisions to keep running backs and all this other crap. I understand Josh Allen's great. I understand he's a good quarterback. And I wouldn't sit here and trade the world for the guy. I certainly think he's been able to disguise the offensive struggles. But you need to help the guy out. You need to give him everything he can to succeed. Because eventually, he's going to have nothing if you don't. I think it'd be a great idea to DeAndre Hopkins, though. There's no reason in my mind why you couldn't do it. It'd be a great complementary option. There's no doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. All signs are pointing towards us trading for him or the Chiefs. And he doesn't want money. He does not want money. So why not go out and try and make it work? I figured if we already are 2 years left in this thing, so be it. It seems like it's out of our control, but why not go get Hopkins? It would fix that problem immediately. No rookie time to develop, no time to really learn the playbook. He seems like a guy who can adapt pretty quickly. He's been in the league for 10 years. Why not go out and get him? Now, next I want to talk about the wide receivers. And I certainly think that there are good wide receivers in this draft class. And for people saying that there aren't good wide receivers, that have been reports coming out over the last week or so that the receiver class is not that good, even though we've been saying for months that this is a good receiver class, I just find that to be complete garbage. I think there's some good receivers. I only wrote 5 down, but there's a couple other exceptions. I only wrote 5 down that I've been paying attention to, and obviously some of these guys are earlier first round picks, and we have pick 27, but there's like 2 or 3 guys that we could get that would help. But I'm just going to go ahead and start off here. At number 1, I have Jackson Smith-Njigba out of Ohio State. He's 6 foot, 198 pounds. He's an outside receiver who has all the tools to become a great top wide receiver in this league. Projected high first round pick, mostly in the teens. Has good size, great hands, good separation, a good deep threat. He'd be a future Gabe Davis replacement. Would be another 1A, 1B with Diggs. Obviously, he's a rookie, he takes some time to develop and whatnot, but he could still be a good asset for this team. Josh would definitely love to have a guy like that to throw to. And the Bills would have to trade up, which is a con. He only did play 3 games in 2022, but looking at his 2021 stats, 95 receptions, 1,606 yards, and 9 touchdowns. That's insane. I would gladly take that. Honestly, though, I'm not sure if the Bills are going to trade up. I don't see that happening. I even was seeing that Brandon Beane was talking about trading down, so I'm not sure. But I could understand if the Bills did trade up and make that move. It's rare, though, that Beane and company do that. I think he's going to go to Green Bay. Or if not Green Bay, if they take another receiver, they go somewhere else or draft somebody else, I could see New England, unfortunately. But if you're going to make a move for him, you got to trade up. And that's a con. And I don't think the Bills are willing to give up draft capital to do that when they need to hit on picks. Now, the next 2 guys I have, I put Zay Flowers at 2, and I put Jalen Hyatt at 3. But in all honesty, they're tied for second. I mean, I'm just putting Zay Flowers at 2 because of the fact that the Bills could get him at the position that they're at in the draft right now if they were to stay there. It's a possibility. He's been mocked to the Bills several times. Now, I'm talking about Zay Flowers, not Zay Jones, obviously. He's 5'10", 172 pounds. He's from Boston College. Now, the size, yeah, he's 5'10", but he has a 4.42 40-yard dash. He's an explosive route runner. He's dangerous. He's considered dangerous. And having Diggs, who's already one of, if not the best route runner in the league, with another great route runner, that's only going to help the Bills. And I'm sure Josh would love to have a guy like that. He plays outside, but he can also play inside. Obviously, we need guys to play outside, but if you can switch guys in and out, that's fine. And the Bills need speed, and this guy would be a great fit. He's a late first round, early second round pick. He had 78 receptions for 1,077 yards and 12 touchdowns. He can definitely also be a gadget guy, I feel, as where Isaiah McKenzie, he was in and out and doing wildcat plays. This guy could definitely do that, but even be better than McKenzie was. So I could definitely see Zay Flowers being a Buffalo Bill. Another guy I want to talk about is Jalen Hyatt. This guy I'm really high on. I think he's going to be really good. And I think people are not, I guess not necessarily underrating the guy, but I don't think he's getting talked about enough. I've seen talk, but not as much talk as Smith-Njigba or Zay Flowers or even Jordan Addison. I think this guy can be really good. And I understand he was at Tennessee and everything, but he's 6 foot, 176 pounds. He had 67 receptions, 1,267 yards, and 15 touchdowns. That ain't no joke. That is not no joke. That is a hell of a fucking season. He can play inside and outside receiver. He can move all around the field, and that's exactly something the Bills could use. Keep the defense guessing. You can move these guys inside and out. Be creative on the offense. That's what you need, not whatever we were doing in the second half of the year when we were stalling out and Ken Dorsey was not calling good plays and the offense could not get going and Allen had the elbow issue and it looked like we were just dragging our head in the dirt. Get guys that can really help us out here. He's explosive off the ball. He's good route running ability. He has a 4.40 40-yard dash. He's projected first, second round pick. Again, I think we can get this guy. And if we only had to trade up, it'd only be for a couple spots. But I really think that Hyatt could be a good pick for us. Now, I have Jordan Addison number 4, and some people may not like that. The only reason I have him at 4, not for his skill. It's the fact that he's a slot receiver. He's preferably a slot receiver. And I'm sure if you game planned him right, got the playbook going, and got him under there, I think he can play outside, but considering the fact that the Bills have Shakir and, they have other guys that can play slot, you could put Hines in there, you could put James Cook in the slot. I just don't see the point in getting more slot receivers. You need outside receivers. And the nice thing about outside receivers is those guys can also play inside. Most slot receivers can't play outside receiver. That's why they're preferably a slot receiver. I think he's a good pick, though, if a team were to get him. He's 5'11", 173 pounds, great fit for a slot receiver. He had 59 receptions, 875 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Again, great stat line for a slot receiver. He's a projected first-round pick, has a smaller size and frame, 4.49 40-yard dash. He is versatile, though. He has speed, which is what the Bills need. More speed, the better, personally. He's a slot receiver, like I said, but could see him, obviously, like I said, he could play outside if game planned properly. But most slot receivers tend to stay in the slot. They don't move outside the slot. And if they do, it's very rare. So that's why I have him at 4. And then number 5, Quentin Johnson out of TCU. He's 6'4", 215 pounds. Now, I'm not that crazy about TCU. Never really been a big fan. But they got going last year. And Johnson has a big frame. He has good size. 4.49 40-yard dash. 60 receptions, 1,069 yards, 6 touchdowns in 2022. He can make the deep plays. He's a potential Gabe Davis replacement, late first round, early second round pick. He's a good deep threat, and I say that because watching his highlights, he just goes down the field. He goes down the field. He can make the big catch. He can make the big play, get you the touchdown, just like Gabe Davis can, but he's bigger. So if you need him to run block, I could definitely see the Bills doing that too. I definitely could understand that. The thing, though, obviously the receiver. Obviously the Bills need offensive line help. You had Dawkins. You signed Connor McGovern. You have Mitch Morse for one more year, so maybe find a replacement center this year. I could see that, or an interior line guy who could play guard and center, unless they have some plan for Rick Bates. I don't know, but you're gonna need a Mitch Morse replacement. You could use a better right guard, and I'm not really sold on Spencer Brown. I'm just not. But Bean did say that he did not go through the proper training camp and OTAs and minicamps, so we'll see how he does with that this year. I'm still not crazy about it. I think you need a right tackle to really help Allen, because so many times he was evading out of the pocket. I swear to God, it was on that right side. It was on that right side of that offensive line, and it's just inexcusable. And even when Quesenberry was in there, even in that Jets game, for example, Allen got hurt because Quesenberry couldn't hold his block. If Quesenberry could hold his block, we probably wouldn't even have been talking about Allen's UCL. But since Allen kept getting obliterated by that offensive line, he hurt himself. And both times he got hurt was in the pocket. His rookie year, when the offensive line was terrible, same injury. And then this year, the offensive line, or this past year, when the offensive line was just as bad as his rookie year, a little bit better, obviously, but bad from that time frame, because 19 his line was good, 20 his line was good, 21 his line was still pretty good for the most part. This year, though, it's been as bad as it was his rookie year, and that certainly was a reason he got hurt. So the Bills definitely need to focus on that in the draft, and they need to hit on that. They need to hit on their picks, and they also need to look at a linebacker, and as much as I hate to say, the defensive tackle, because Ed Oliver is not panned out. He's on his 5th-year option. Daquan Jones, he's got maybe one more year, and then Jordan Phillips, he's got one more year. He came back, which is nice, but they don't have any longevity at that position, and they need to hit on that position as well. They need to hit on their picks. They need to start making the right moves, and they can't keep doing the same thing they keep doing. If they keep doing the same thing they keep doing, then Bean and McDermott, they're going to be out, and we're going to be talking about new people, new personnel, and you might start seeing all kinds of different moves. And Poyer and Hyatt aren't getting any younger. We're lucky Poyer came back. Von Miller's got 2 more years. If we get D-Hop, we only really get 2 years out of him. So we need to make the right moves now if we're going to succeed. If we're going to have more longevity than just 2 years, we need to hit on our draft picks. We need to make the right moves. Make sure our free agents are also the right moves, obviously. And we need to make sure that this time, or if I even have to say next year or the year after, but we need to get it right. And we need to go all the way. We need to take that next step, because if we don't, I don't know what happens to this team. I still think it's a really good football team, but it's not where the Bengals are, and it's not where the Chiefs are. So we need to hit on our draft picks. We need to understand that receiver is important. Offensive line is important, not just defense. Put some band-aids on the defense if you have to. Enough with the offensive band-aids. Focus on the offense. Obviously work on the defense when you can. Make it just as good as it was before, and we'll be okay. Allen can get the job done. I think this guy can win a ring. I really do. But the team needs to fucking get it going. The offensive line, the receivers, management needs to get its shit together. Get this draft right, or next year we're probably going to be talking about the same thing. And it's not just day 1. You got to hit on day 2 and 3. You got to hit on your depth pieces too. So I'm excited for the draft, but I'm also nervous. So we'll see what happens. That's all for today. So be sure to like, comment, and subscribe.